Well. Hello, greetings, and salutations. Welcome back to the BFC, where we go into the trenches of the trading world. Hey, StreamYard, get it together. We always have tech issues with StreamYard. Easy program to use, but man, what the heck? So sorry for the late start. We have a lot to discuss today. We have a couple great guests, some guests that have done a lot of work with their businesses, a lot of they're moving in the right direction. Let's just put it that way. So they're returning guests. So I don't want to waste any time. And Super Robot's with us too. So we're going to be talking some VXIT and BMXI as well. So you're going to want to stick around for that. But I don't want to waste any time. Let's bring in our first guest. He is no stranger to the BFC, Mr. Neil Volushin of Cavitation Technologies, OTCQB CVAT. Let's bring him right in. Can you hear me now, Neil?
I think I can hear you all right.
Good. So you've been busy as hell. You just got back to the States. And I gotta just ask you a question, because every time I talk to you, you're either getting on a plane or getting off a plane, or I can't reach you because you're on a plane. How do you do it, man? Like, how do you just keep grinding the way you are, man? It's unbelievable what you're able to do.
I just don't want to think about it. So it's just kind of like get on and get off. I mean, and just move on. I own an airplane, G5. I'm just kidding. No, I just, fly coach. So, I flew back, from Geneva. I arrived last night. Like I came home like almost 1 o'clock in the morning. But flying back, again, it's a coach, and I never sit by the window. This time around, that's the only seat I had. I was sitting by the window. It's like 3 people in. I mean, I literally felt that my butt is just going to explode because you couldn't move. And it was for 10 and a half hours. I mean, it's just like, all right, man. But anyway, I survived. I mean, like I say, I always say, what doesn't kill me makes me strong. So, I mean, it's all right.
Yeah, you're always moving and grooving. So,
Yeah.
as a shareholder, that's what I like to hear. So, I want to just get right to it. Let's talk about the LOI. It outlines a valuation of approximately 13 cents a share on a fully diluted basis. Do you believe that this fully reflects the value of CVAT and its subsidiaries today, or should this be viewed as more of an initial baseline subject to potential adjustment?
Well, Eric, we need to slice it and dice it, because part of it is this. We have cavitation technologies, and, perhaps there's assigned value because there are newer technologies that were also brought on board, but there's also an alchemy and Zyra. So until I really get the valuation reports, it's hard for me to pinpoint and say too high, too low, or we're right in the right range. I can only tell you one thing, that about 2021, Alchemy was going to be bought out by a NASDAQ company. And they were writing about, the check for about $10 million. I mean, it was, I guess, I'm trying to remember. I think it was some cash and stock, but they are tier 1 NASDAQ company and stuff like that. And the only reason, we signed all the paperwork. They, that particular company owned, several restaurants. And because of alcoholic beverages license, that ran into a roadblock because of our license with Cameo Vodka. By the time we figured things out, market in 22, 23 started to deteriorate, so the transaction never took place. But at the time, where we didn't even have a bar muse, as a product it is, it was about $10 million. So
Wow.
I'm not going to dwell on the fact of what it's going to be like, but like I said, we definitely would need to get certain things done, and we'll just go from there.
Right on. Yeah, Bar Muse. Hey, I have one. You've lent me one to use, and it's a great, phenomenal product. Actually, really enjoy it.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, not at 10 in the morning. Not 10 in the morning though. So you have the proof of funds now. All right, 45 million, and that's great. Can you give us some additional detail on the nature of those funds, and specifically, are they fully liquid and committed, or subject to any conditions or restructuring, perhaps?
Well, I've met EGS in Geneva for roughly 3 days, and again, they provided proof of funds. It is all liquid assets. So these are not some derivative products or something else or some form of bonds. These are all liquid products that could be turned into cash within 1 or 2 days tops. And from what I sit down and talk to their compliance officer, the lady came in They clearly have larger assets or, the ability to come in, but, let's not dive into it. But as far as I can tell you, I mean, they're fairly liquid.
Excellent. As this process moves forward, which of the remaining conditions, due diligence, fairness opinion, shareholder approval, or regulatory review, which one do you think do you view as the most significant risk to getting this thing done?
Frankly, I cannot really pinpoint a particular element where I say, there's a bottleneck and we have to,
Hmm.
figure things out. But mostly I think it's a process because remember, EGS and their entities would like to acquire in essence, three companies, which is, Cavitation Technologies, Alchemy Beverages, and Zyra Corp. Each one of our entities has its own line of business, which we're not stopping, no matter how we move forward. I think our bottleneck is the time frame, because I'll give you an example. Our initial agreement with EGS was based on Liechtenstein and Swiss laws. We changed that and LOI to the US. Well, it means that EGS is looking to engage the US firm because their legal counsel perhaps can be providing some supervision, but they're not familiar with US laws, just like we're not very much familiar with Liechtenstein laws. So, for example, stuff like this may take a little extra time. We've discussed quite a bit the fact that, all right, if EGS wants to take all the assets privately, how the process is going to work, how the shares, how they have to be deposited with our transfer agent, how the process will take place, is there going to be a minimum? I mean, these are things that we anticipate August 1, but I mean, sometimes it may just take longer. Then we need to go through process. So, like I said, I think this is our biggest challenge, to do it within the time frame. But we are starting Monday. We'll roll up the sleeves and start getting quite a bit of work done. Let me just give you one more example. Because it is a foreign, EGS is a foreign entity, and they are buying a U.S. asset. So today, and don't ask me what is it called, but we need to go through certain government entities to provide the information and receive an okay back, stating that certain technologies that we have, going abroad, likely they could be utilized in the U.S. but also abroad, and I think some form of scrutiny or review will be required. Usually, from what I hear, it's about 2 to 3 week process, but it may take longer. So, for example, this is something I have no way of knowing. In other words, we submit the paperwork and may come back very quickly. But what I'm saying is, this is probably our biggest challenge, to do it by August 1.
Excellent. I mean, hey, if you're able to pull that off, then I don't know.
Yeah,
You guys always do what you say you're going to do, so it wouldn't shock me if that was the case. And I want to talk a little bit about that 60-day exclusivity period. By the way, because of this PR and what you have going on, I can now say exclusivity without a problem. That used to be the worst word for me to say. So let's talk a little exclusivity. do you view this? I got it down, man. You learn something new every day. But how do you view this in terms of strategic positioning? Does it limit the ability to explore alternative or potentially higher offers, or does it reflect confidence in EGS as the preferred partner?
Well, it's it's a bit tricky. We wanted to, they EGS wanted to do actually, write a language that has a ROFR, right of first refusal. It has tricky stuff. So we've decided, all right, let's stay away from that. Let's just stick with exclusivity. Part of it is what EGS wanted to avoid is for us, we receive a commitment. Now we take the paper, go elsewhere and say, well, here's the carrot. Is there anybody else who's going to be coming in and get it done? So what they're coming back and saying, all right, guys, for the first 60 days, let's get certain things done, including valuation. Let's come back and figure out what the numbers are. We believe that we provide you with a fair value. Well, that's their call. And, we'll go from there. Like I said, what they wanted to avoid for us to go on the shopping expedition, like, hey, here we are. Maybe somebody's going to write slightly bigger check. So this is where we are, and like I said, I think it's fair as far as what they give us and what we give them. And there's just some work needs to be done. That's about it.
Right on. And you know what? I got a couple more questions for you. And by the way, after that long flight and long trip that you've had, I really appreciate you taking the time to come on and share these answers with us. As shareholders are getting excited because this is really big news. So thanks for taking the time. I appreciate that.
Cool.
Regarding I want to talk about the fairness opinion. Do you anticipate it aligning with the current valuation range, or I talked a little bit about this earlier. Is there potential to influence negotiations depending on its findings? So, and to that, I'm talking about Zyra. I'm talking about Alchemy. I'm talking about, those divisions.
Well, there are certain things I do not have the privilege to discuss at this time, just because of certain NDA things that are taking place. But I can tell you one thing, that we as a company still continue doing business as usual. We had a fairly long presentation in Geneva, had a meeting with EGS and Zyra. We did have a chance to dive into a lot of details, what Zyra is up to, what we're doing, the directions the company is going. So give me about next 10 to 14 days. And I'll be reporting, I think, some interesting results or some interesting facts about what Zyra is doing, what's taking place. So again, back to your question, you just got to give me a little bit of time, because like I mentioned to you, Alchemy was about $10 million, whereas a considerably different company, including fully audited. Is it 10 million or less? I mean, let's just be a little bit more patient. I'll come back with a lot of information to you guys in a relatively short period of time.
I want to bring this up. You had the picture that you posted, and there was a lady there presenting as well too. Who was that lady? And I don't know if we've really ever covered it, but I know I've mentioned it before. But who is she, and why is she so significant? What's a little bit about her background too?
Maria Medvedeva. She was a GM of MasterCard Middle East. So she resides in Riyadh. We have access to pretty much anybody who is somebody in that world. So primarily Saudi Arabia, Emirates, Bahrain. Sure, there was a lot of friction in the last month or so in the Middle East, but it seems to be things are starting to get settled. So she was a GM at MasterCard for 6 years. Grew that business tremendously. She's well recognized. For example, she was giving, I think several months ago, she was giving a presentation with the ambassador of the United States. They had like a roundtable discussion. So she had, by the way, she's an American citizen. So she does work in Riyadh, but she's a U.S. citizen. So she was the one who is really in the forefront of the fintech area and that's the reason she was brought in to have a very close discussion with EGS, explaining what Zyra is, what we're about, how unique we are, what the model is. So, like I said, it was probably, I don't know, at least half a day that we had a meeting. Then afterwards, Maria and I spent several days also going through what Zyra does. So again, I'll come back to everybody in the next, like I said, hopefully the next 2 weeks to give you a lot more information on that.
And that has to do, guys, with the remittance payments and all that good stuff. So to have someone of that caliber on your team is freaking awesome. And so I think, you know what, I the sentiment is, for me personally, I know you really can't discuss this, but I'm going to bring this up because one of our traders in the community wanted to bring this up. We can't believe there hasn't been a crazy amount of support in the stock. His name's Shido. He's a well-known trader in the OTC. And he says this, he goes, I'm very interested in CVAT. I really want to see this deal go through. I'm so puzzled that the stock can't see any traction. It makes no sense at all to me. I can't be with you guys live, but I would love to hear Neil make a remark on what his take is that the stock is stuck below 4 cents with that buyout offer on the table. I realize company people won't and often can't comment directly on their stock price in general, but damn it. He should be puzzled about it as well. So, I mean, I had to share that with you. So,
well, look,
and I know you can only comment on so much.
Not only that, we do not, listen, there's a large gap between the offer and where we're trading today. But on top of it, the volume is fairly low. I mean, I look at this 300,000 shares a day. There's not much going on. I guess there's not enough buyers and not enough sellers to really do much about it.
Mm.
So sooner than later, I think the information is going to spread out and people are going to learn about it. I mean, listen, from our perspective, it doesn't change much. That we're going to do business as we do. For example, when I met EGS, we talked about the following. It's going to cost us roughly $50,000 to do diligence, do some legal work, and so on and so forth, just from our end. I did ask them if they would provide the financial, means to take care of it. Verbally, we agreed to it. We just need to draft some things on paper. They said, okay, just submit invoices or proposals that you're going to receive, and we'll be taken care of. So from our end, we're moving forward.
So that was EGS? EGS did that?
Yeah.
So EGS paid for, they're going to supply the funding to get these things done.
Right. That's exactly what we asked him, to do, and we were verbally did agree to it. Like I said, that's something we're going to be getting done in the next, probably 7 to 10 days. But again, that's it. These are, it's like another brick in the wall. You slowly, kind of put this up. Whatever comes around, and we got to continue to do what we're doing.
Yeah, that okay. And I'm just going to say this from my perspective. It seems like they have a lot of confidence in what they're setting out to do with you guys. If they're willing to do that, that's huge. That's an indicator for me personally. That's what I think. You could agree or disagree. I don't know if you can.
I know.
But yeah, no, I think that's great. So I want to thank you for coming on and giving us an update. You guys are really crushing it. I think personally that you guys are going to get this deal done, and I like how it's set up right now. And thank you for taking that question from Shido as well.
All right, man. Listen, I'm always open, so glad that you invited me. And listen, like everybody has a great work week. All right, I'll talk to everybody sometime during this week. We'll look for our postings because we're more active right now on our social media side. And like I said, once things become more meaningful to update, I'll definitely provide it.
Absolutely. All right,
good
buddy.
to see you as always.
Get out of here. Get out of here.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think they're going to do a great job. I really like the deal and how it's set up, and the fact that they're supplying that funding to do all those things. That to me screams that they want to get this deal done. So, in my personal opinion, I asked them the question about the 13 cents and could that potentially be a floor or whatever. Personally, I think it is the floor because the other valuations haven't been done yet. They haven't been factored in. That's my opinion. So I think this could be much higher than that 13 cents. And remember, guys, this is on a fully diluted basis. So if you start putting 2 and 2 together, there are major things that could happen with the stock. And like he said, the volume's low. It's only trading a couple 100,000 shares, 300,000 shares. If high volume picks up on this could really move in the right direction, as long as it doesn't see any selling resistance. But it's a common sense deal. I know Shido and I were talking about this. Like, if it's a buyout, why would you even sell down there? But all right, that's no here nor there. We're going to see how that thing plays out. It's very exciting. I'm still holding my shares. Very excited about that. My next guest has been crushing it on the business side. Straight up, I just want to hear an update from the guy. So I'm just going to bring him in, Mr. Gabe Diaz of Medicana, ticker SFWJ. Let's do it. Welcome back, buddy. How you doing?
Doing well, Eric. How are you? Thank you for having me on. I love being on this show. I love this segment.
Well, you know what? We love having you on because you know what? I gotta say, I didn't. Sometimes I prepare questions and notes and stuff. For this one, I prepared nothing because I know you've been MIA for the last couple weeks.
I have been.
So what the hell is going on? And just the floor is yours, dude.
Well, there's we posted our financials for last year. Let's start with that. Okay. We only grew revenue by 89 times. That was it. We only got it. That's the major announcement that we've got. We're very happy. It was an inflection year for the company. After years of building licensing infrastructure, we crossed the development stage from development stage into operating profile. That's the phenomenal news. I had
Wow.
noted that we had we were going to track for $1 million, and we ended up we had a delay in the project that we were installing, and it kicked over this year. Okay, so we only booked 500 and something $1,000, 532,000 for 2024. This revenue comes from our marginal company, which is Echo 2.0, which is our ag tech company, right? It's not, so it's phenomenal news, but it's not operating revenue from the cannabis, the pharmaceutical cannabis that we're focused on. That will come up, and somebody's going to ask, there's an ongoing concern about the operations of the company in the report. And that's because we haven't started operating with the cannabis, right? What? No. I'm sorry. We're on crop number 4. We've started operating. We finished processing crop number 4 last week. I published the initial COAs, and I'm going to be all over the place on this. Let's get back to finance, then I'll talk about what we're doing. So the biggest thing was revenue. It's the first positive margin in the history of this company, the shell that we took over. Operating leverage is real. We've got, we scaled it 90-fold, but the reality is I've been dark because we've been working on a couple other deals that are really going to change the way the major crop that Colombia produces. And it's going to go from, flowers is the biggest one, banana is the second largest, coconut probably third, and then you'll see blueberries come on very soon. Right now, blueberries come from Chile, Peru, and Colombia is coming on board with that. We have become the premier installer of irrigation systems for one of the largest conglomerates of blueberries. And we've closed that deal. I'll be publishing results off of that. So this is our marginal company that was meant to save us money and get us revenue. And what it's done is it's given us great results for last year. What the other thing that happened is our cash position grew stronger. Financing flows were up by 66%. But here's the other one that I think investors are going to like. Over 103 million shares were returned and canceled. Okay. So while we grew the business, while we grew capital and revenue, we didn't dilute. In fact, we did the opposite. So that is phenomenal news. Our interest expenses got cut nearly in half because of a Class C and some issue that we issued. But the biggest thing is also the balance sheet got much stronger. Our assets grew 20%, and those assets are real producing assets that are our greenhouses, our drying room, processing facilities, everything related to CapEx that is now dropping. And we're seeing that's the next chain is we're seeing spend go down because CapEx we built, now we're just operating. So we're in a very, very good spot as a company. Again, revenue's up 89%. Gross margin turned positive for the first time ever. The share count shrank. The debt is cleaner. Cash is up. Cash is up by 13 times. The operating supply chain is about to go live. I'll talk about that one.
Real quick. So I just want to interrupt. So 103 million shares gone.
Gone. Yep. They were canceled. These were from the old shell that we were able to to dissolve. Yep.
And by the way, guys, because I was just looking at the filings as you were talking, you have 8.7 million in assets at this point.
Correct. Correct. And again, yes. So why is the stock so low? Well, number one, we've been very, very quiet. Okay. Why have we been so quiet? Why am I not banging the drum? Because the reality is we need to get to the full operational capacity. We are this close right now to getting our first export out. So crop number 3, we did an export of CBD. We've already run through that. We sent it to Switzerland. It was great, but that was through a third party. We couldn't start our export process and our import process in Australia until we had a first physical batch that was registered, right? And everybody knows through X that we published that in January. It was late January that we got results, and that's what kicked off the process. Well, Latin America bureaucracy tends to be much slower than here, and Australian bureaucracy tends to be very slow as well. We just got final questions from our Australian entity to import the product into Australia. Remember, we have a license in Australia that's fully operational, and we've been waiting for the import permit. We can't get an export permit from Colombia until we get an import permit from Australia. We figured that one out. But once we get that, the additional permits that we've got filed will be granted, and then the machine starts. So where are we as an operating company right now? We've got product. We've got it in storage. The product has about 1.5 years shelf life, so we're not nervous. We've got 2 crops right now ready to go. And we have a first world problem that I've never had in any company that I've operated, and that is that we have angry clients because they don't have a product yet. We have a total of about 9 angry clients that want our product, and only about 1 or 2 are going to get the product because that's all there is. So global supply continues to go through the roof. Our quality is amazing. We're about to harvest crop number 5, and we are planting crop number 6, and we are not stopping at this point. We'll be harvesting on a monthly basis, and then we're going to a bi-monthly basis. So we're very happy where we're at.
That's crazy.
We've been super quiet because we've had so many things going on. But the news is all positive. You'll start seeing a lot more news. And again, I'd rather spend $10,000 on building infrastructure right now than $10,000 banging the drum, because my results aren't solid yet. And we have to get to operational, perfection is where we want to be. So we're getting close. And that's where we're at, Eric. We'll keep it quiet.
Yeah.
We'll keep going. Ask me questions.
I do have a couple of questions for you. You talked about the process for exporting. Is that just a pain in the ass?
It is insane. It is, because this is pharmaceutical, right? So it's controlled substances. So we have to get import permits from the Australian FDA, an Australian Pharmaceutical Association. That's not that big a deal. It's the exporting that in Colombia. Colombia actually did a very good job of setting up the industry as far as the regulatory goes, but they made it very complex as well. So we have to get a permit from the Ministry of Justice, the Ministry of Pharmaceutical, the Ministry of Farming, and then all these permits tend to expire. So if we don't get them at the same time, and if there's a delay with one or the other, then we have to go and reapply for the others. On top of that, we have to book our shipping with the airliner, right? So everything has to align. Now, we're going to get it done. It's not an issue. It's just every one of these permits that we have to apply for, we had to register initially once we had our first crop. We were already registered, but once we had our first crop, it kicks off the first time process, and that takes forever. Yeah. So let me tell you, that's something that really motivates me. There were 2,500 licenses for pharmaceutical cannabis granted in Colombia. This was 7 years ago when it first opened. There are 250 left right now, and there are only 8 active exporters. Okay. This sounds like we're in an industry that's failing. This sounds like the death of the industry, except global demand is through the roof, and everybody wants the Medcana's cannabis now, because they've seen what we've done with these first 2 crops, right? They've seen our terpene levels.
Talk about the terpene levels. Talk a little bit about the results that you guys just had, because that's unfreaking believable.
Unbelievable. And not just this, it's not luck. Okay. It's where we're at. It's the sun. It's the UV rays. It's the intensity that we get. It's the length of sun that we get. It's the variation in temperatures. It's the perfect storm to get the perfect cannabis from a pharmaceutical perspective, because the terpenes are coming in so high. And again, these terpenes are they're very similar to cannabinoids. They not only serve as pharmaceutical agents for certain treatments, but they also enhance the aroma tremendously, and they enhance the experience and the potency that gets delivered to the user, right? So It is a win-win combination. It's what's going to really put Colombian cannabis on the map again because, well, everybody knows it was there in the 60s, right? But the reality is, from a pharmaceutical perspective and from a user perspective, we have a very unique global product. Everybody knows Colombian coffee and everybody says it's the best. Can you really tell me if I give you 2 cups of coffee that one's Ethiopian and one's Colombian? You really can't. When you sample and when you see the product that we have, it is off the charts, overwhelmingly obvious. So I'm ecstatic about this. I'm super happy. Everything has gone according to plan, except much slower. But we're very happy where we're at. Very, very happy. The last thing I'll tell you is I posted a few months ago that cannabis flower was legal for pharmaceutical cannabis flower would become legal at the beginning of this month, and it did. But the regulatory framework isn't there yet. So we are in talks with the Ministry of Justice to give us permits to sell to pharmacies at this point because they didn't get their framework in mind. We could go ahead and sell it, and there's no sanctions that are available because it's legal. But we want to play nice with the Ministry of Justice, and so we're waiting to see what's going to happen. But the flower in Colombia, pharmaceutical flower, is about to open up. It is opened up. It's just missing regulatory framework and consults with the Ministry of Justice. So we're close there as well.
Yeah, and what you were talking about earlier, I consider you guys, like, I don't consider you guys necessarily a cannabis stock. I consider you a broader agriculture stock, especially with everything that you have going on with the greenhouses, with the blueberries, with, just across the board. So that's why, like, when I talk about this one specifically, SFWJ, people are like, oh, cannabis plays aren't in. It's one, you're a global play, so you don't have to adhere to the bullshit that goes on in the States. Correct. 2, you're doing things other than just cannabis. And so, like you talked about, the only portion right now that is really bringing those significant revenues isn't even from that. So, I mean, to me, it's a broader agriculture stock. And you talked about the location too. Right now, in how you're producing the cannabis there, and I'm going to talk about the cannabis real quick. You're only using a fraction of that real estate right now.
Correct. We only have 3%. It's only 3% that we've got stood up right now. We are in the process of expanding to 6% right now. And then that growth goes exponential.
Yeah. Oh, and Unboxing Bastard says, I'd love to see some pictures. And by the way, hello, Unboxing Bastard. Hope you're doing good. If you actually go on their X account, Gabe is absolutely awesome of giving us updates, videos, pictures of the crops, of everything that they have, going on. Unbelievable stuff. So you definitely want to check out their X account at Medcana, if I am correct. Definitely check that out.
Yep. Medcanico.
Medcanico.
Yep.
Definitely check it out. I also wanted to ask about back to that 103 million share cancellation. Is that going to reflect in the outstanding share? Has that been like official yet?
Official, absolutely official and filed.
Was that already taken out? I mean, because I didn't.
Yeah, it was taken out. I think it was second quarter of last year.
Got it.
Yeah, we didn't make a lot of noise. Again,
I remember. Eric, I covered that. I remember that now. Yes.
Yeah. We talked about this. Yeah, but the drum that I want.
You guys haven't been adding shares. Like, you have a really nice share structure.
We have a very nice, and I'm trying to hold that together. The reality is, Eric, I'll tell you, I think there is going to be some dilution because we have to grow. We have so much demand for the product that we have to get there faster. But the news on that is every penny that we raise goes towards CapEx and goes towards it increasing the bottom line revenue. And it is for every dollar we put in, I think we get $8 or $9 out. No, I'm sorry, we get $10 out the first year and $11 out the second year on CapEx.
Yeah.
So, yep.
Yeah, and you know what? I hate dilution, but the whole point of going public is to raise funds for your business. So I like dilution when you utilize it to raise the money you have to get a bigger return. Yep. And that's the whole point. And that's what 9 out of 10 of these companies don't do. They just bloat the hell out of their share structure. And where does the money go? Towards an idea where you actually have a tangible business that has global reach. I mean, so you're playing a different ball game, and you've done a lot of businesses in the past. This isn't your first rodeo, so you know how to grow. You know how to implement a freaking business model. You know what I'm saying?
know I am an operator. I am not a financier. I'm not a capital raiser. I'm an operator. Yes, I've done this multiple times. Once I see the road, it's a road I've gone down, and it's easy to get it done. And that's exactly what's happening right now. Getting to this inflection point where I posted on X a couple months ago. We were planting the next harvest. We were pruning another harvest. We were harvesting another one. We were trimming. We were doing every process that's involved in the cannabis production in one day. And that's where we want to be 365 days of the year. And that's where we're going. We're already there, actually. Now it's just expanding.
Now, obviously, based on 2025, there was a net loss, but like, do you see yourself turning profit this year? And how was quarter one? Are we going to like these quarter one results?
I think you're going to love the quarter one results. Again, our agrotech company has carried us, which is great. Second quarter is going to get even better with agrotech. And we are hoping that we're very confident we'll have revenue booked from cannabis, but third and fourth quarter will be off the charts. So, yeah.
Off the charts. I've always liked what you've had going on. I think it's one of the best plays on the OTC right now. I don't see you guys staying there long. I think this is going to be a case of build the business, have strong fundamentals, implement a stellar business model.
Yep.
And take the stock will follow.
And Eric,
you know,
again, I'll tell you, dilution is super important to me. I don't want to dilute my investors. We have a couple of very large investors that want to come in, but it would mean a lot of dilution. And the reality is we don't need it because we can scale very quickly with not that much capital. So that's the other thing that's important to let everybody know. But
yeah. And you did talk to me about that before, saying like people want to fund us, because I think there's a target on you too, because you're in that range where they could give you a bunch of money, they could fund you, and then they could just crash and burn your stock. And at the end of the day, you want to build shareholder value. You want the stock to represent how good your business is. And sometimes, there's a misbalance when that happens. So, if you have a killer business, a great business model, you're achieving profitability, you're expanding in your industry or multiple industry, you want the stock to reflect that. And sometimes toxic lenders just destroy it. And then even if you do have a good business model or whatever, it gets overshadowed because nobody's going to want to touch your stock.
Yep.
As a shareholder, I appreciate that. So,
well, I consider myself a shareholder. So that's
right on. Well, yeah, dude, this was a great call. Is there anything you want to leave anybody with, or the floor is yours?
No, just sorry that I haven't been on. I like to post once a week on X, and I've just been slammed. But things are going so well. Everything I'll continue to pump out news in the next few weeks, and you guys will see a lot of stuff. And once we're at full production and once we've got revenue coming in from cannabis, we will start to bang that PR drum and get things out there. But right now, our number one goal is to be profitable and to be fully operational. So sit tight. We're there.
I'm going to say this, and this is me. This is not Gabe. Once you're clicking on all cylinders, this is going to be a 9-figure company easily, in my opinion. And especially, like I said, when you're on max capacity on your real estate, on that property, and you're taking full advantage of that, when you're taking advantage of the relationships that you have with the government, when you're taking with the I can't ever remember the greenhouses, when you're talking about the blueberries, you're talking about certification for your exports, you guys are going to crush it, in my opinion. And I'm going to be watching this like a hawk. I know some people in our community are going to be watching it too. So keep doing what you're doing, man. I really appreciate it. And definitely get your butt on here for a warm up or a update in the next couple of weeks. That'd be great.
I will. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much.
All right, get out of here.
Take care. I'm out of here.
All right. Man, I love those CEOs. Neil Voloshin of CVAT and Gabe Diaz of SFWJ. Yeah, very, very, very excited about those guys. So own shares in both, and I'm going to continue to add when I can. So now I want to talk a little bit about with 3 stocks. I'm going to bring in Robot in a second, but first I want to talk about ticker AURI. And by the way, I've been watching this one closely. I have a very significant position in it. And so let's talk about the last 2 press releases. This is a chart, it had that nice spike after we did a Spaces, and there was a lot of interest. And well, here we were back to 1. And now, it's starting to pick up a little bit. We had some really nice volume last week with the press releases that came out. So let's get into why it could be so exciting. All right. Ari, new management and business focus. All right. I know there's a couple of Eddie Vasker haters. So, hey, this is music to your ears. The company has formulated a plan with an initiative, sorry, can't read. Well, how about that? To spin off all its wholly owned tickers. The opportunity presented itself with economic opportunities due to oil and gas market surging, in addition to in-ground opportunities in Moldova and fracking markets. The company is working with consultants to add a new CEO who is fluent in oil and gas economy, while the current CEO will move on to manage the art and entertainment at UITA. All right, let's keep going and just look at they did a follow-up PR. All right. As part of its previously announced shift toward energy-driven operations, Ari confirms that formal discussions with multiple CEO candidates will begin today. And that was April 15th. The company is actively seeking, but not limited to, candidates with deep expertise in oil and gas, and as well as a broader experience in scaling energy and infrastructure-focused businesses to guide its next phase of growth and execution. And it goes on to talk about the Moldova-based assets and broader oil strategy. Goes on. In addition, the company is preparing to implement key enhancements to its digital presence, including a streamlined and more efficient, a more user-friendly corporate website. All right, new website. That's nice. Improved social media management and communication structure. Always love to see that. Clear presentation of business segments, strategy, and shareholder updates. That's significant. We want to know what the hell Ari does. I know a lot of you have reached out to what the hell did they do? And there's so much going on in there that you don't know. So it's like they're trying to clean up the basically the vision of the company, so shareholders and traders could actually understand what the frig is going on. So, as a diversified holding company, Ari remains committed to optimizing its structure and operations with a singular focus, maximizing long-term shareholder value. This includes executing on strategic initiatives such as spin-offs, disciplined capital allocation, and aligning leadership with high-growth sectors. Now, they talked about the spin-offs. They talk about, everything that I just mentioned. But this is important. I think this is crucial. The company also wishes to provide additional clarity to shareholders regarding its capital structure. Ari confirms that it currently has no convertible notes outstanding and does not intend to take on any toxic financing during this transition process. This approach is designed to maintain consistency, stability, and alignment with shareholder interests as the company executes on its strategic initiatives. Now, the share structure is heavy on this one, but it can move. We've seen it move, and it can move. That's all I'll say. But it's also nice because there's no convertibles that are going to be holding it down. So I think once volume sets in and this thing can consolidate in the mid trips, I think, and they give appropriate news, we find out who the new CEO is, I think this is going to be very exciting. But let's keep going. VXIT. And you know what? I think Super Robot's going to steal my thunder here. Yo, what is up, Super Robot? How you doing, man?
Hey, what's up, Eric? How are you? Thanks for having me on. Great stuff from Neil and Gabe. Love hearing from those guys. I specifically CVAT I've been in for a while and really looking forward to the future of that one because very, very exciting stuff they got going on. Neil, I like a straight shooter, and he's that kind of guy. So that's good stuff.
Yeah.
You asked me to come on and talk about a couple stocks. So I think you're in this one too, VXIT. It's been a pretty interesting one. It's one of my favorites right now. If you've been following me, I've been sticking with it since December when the change of control was announced. So I just have the chart pulled up here. But basically, they they've made some recent progress, right? Here's their Twitter. Things are still vague in terms of details about the company. But vagueness, can also be a good thing in the OTC, where it creates suspense, it creates a story, it creates hype, right? So I like kind of the pace at which they've been putting out updates. But you can see they just filed their Q2, and they also launched their new website. So this is their website. It really just kind of sets the stage, I think. I don't think this is a one and done thing. I think you'll see a lot of updates to this site as they kind of reveal more details about their business model. But I guess the main thing that's interesting to me, right, is it talks about 3 divisions right off the bat. So right now, VXIT doesn't really have any businesses in it, right? It's a fresh change of control with a new direction under this guy, Stefan Dalsgaard, which was the previous CEO of GTVH. So what that means is, in my opinion, they'll probably have to do acquisitions, which is a great catalyst for stocks typically, assuming that they're exciting acquisitions. So because they're saying 3 divisions here, and then on their portfolio page, they talk about infrastructure division, entertainment division, technology division. So I'm guessing that these are their kind of targets for acquisitions to bring into this company to grow out the portfolio. So, but again, what's good about this setup right now is, okay, you got a pretty much blank slate for like a brand new fresh story, right? And that's kind of traditionally what generates sparks in the OTC markets, especially these change of control plays have been very popular. And then we have Stefan, he's been saying some big things, right? So that's why there's, again, a lot of excitement building here, I think, because, he talks about in March, strong execution behind the scenes, foundation being set, preparing to showcase what's been built, final steps underway. Then he updates again a couple weeks later in April. I'm working on some of the biggest things I've ever done in my life. I know everyone wants updates, but I must do this right. When we come out the woodworks, I'm confident everyone will be elated. So obviously that's something to get excited about there. And, the way I perceive things, at least in the context of this ticker, is, there's obviously some ill will regarding Stefan and some of the failures with GTVH in the past and how it ultimately ended. But, in my opinion, I think at least from the words that he's put out, it seems that he's kind of on a redemption arc, right? I don't think he's happy with how it ended either. And I think he kind of wants to prove himself with this one. So it's an interesting story forming there. Then we have the chart, which is just great. And this, again, adds to the appeal of the ticker significantly, I think, for me personally. Just because, we had that first 3-leg structure, kind of almost had a breakout here, but of course, chart needed to cool off, right? Look at the MACD when we were up there, right? Look at the RSI when I might not have included RSI here in this chart, but all good. But basically, right, it was running up pretty hot. And this is really typical with OTC charts, is you get the 3-leg structure and you get a cool off stage. And if it has the potential to do more, then it can do more with another 3-leg structure and so on, right? So, you got some nice support levels at Dub 1. You have this level at 002, but then we also have some smaller levels, which I'll add here, right? Like Dub 14 and Dub 16 are levels on this chart, from on these shorter time frame look. But the other thing that's nice, right, is you have these golden crosses setting up. So this is your 200 MA down here. That's your longest time frame moving average. Okay, and this is starting to rise, which is great to see. And then, of course, you have your 50 MA, which did a golden cross on the 9, and now can do another one, right? Because it's setting up to cross again here. So bullish indicators there. And if we look at the weekly, you see some interesting things wicking right off another moving average here on the weekly. So you can kind of see how these supports play off in real time when you zoom out a little more. And then also on the weekly, right, another golden cross set up here with the 200 MA and the 50 and everything like that. So some pretty interesting stuff there. And if we zoom out a bit more, what's unique about this ticker is, of course, it had one of the biggest runs during the COVID market, hitting 12 cents. And what that means is, well, okay, there's all these upper levels that have never been retested, right, since that run. So things could get interesting if it sees a bigger breakout. And again, I have some additional upper levels for the near term that we could look for here, which is 005, 0067. And just a couple photos here that this is from someone in my Discord was sending this. And, obviously it's his personal opinion, analyzing the VXIT chart himself, but he was just sending these photos to kind of help give a better understanding of what's going on here. So if we look back at the daily, right? And we go to here, let's go to 6 months so we can zoom out a little. And you can see we do kind of have this zigzag correction, right, which is showing in this photo here. We have very similar structure on the chart there as a zigzag correction. Really has cooled off the MACD significantly. I mean, look, the MACD is actually cooler now than when the change of control happened, right? So pretty interesting there. And then, of course, this can be the end result of what we see from these zigzag corrections, right? This is what I was talking about earlier with the three-leg pattern. So this chart really shows it well, where you have the three-leg pattern, you have the zigzag correction, and then you can do another three-leg pattern and so on. So those are two things I wanted to highlight for that. And I think that pretty much wraps up what I wanted to kind of discuss about this one.
No, right on. I will say that I think that this is a perfect opportunity, and you were pounding the table on this. It was like trip 5 or trip 6. And I just watched in amazement. I'm like, wow, this is freaking awesome. So I think that for people that have been following this one, I think we're approaching a zone. I like the 16. I like the 14. This is an opportunity for you. So I look at this as pure opportunity. So, dude, thanks for sharing that with us. I appreciate it. I'm really starting to like this one a lot.
Yeah, for sure. And you know,
I like Steph. I've talked to him a couple times.
Yeah, he's a cool guy. I've messaged him as well. He seems like a nice guy. And I just like CEOs in general in the OTC that understand the IR game, right? Are able to consistently put out updates, communicate to their shareholders, talk to people, reply to people. That's always a good look for me. So I like that as well, right? It's not a guy that's just going to go quiet and ditch you for 6 months. He's pretty consistent with his updates. And, you know, I've been holding since trip 5, so my average is good. I'm up a lot. That's great. You know, a lot of these trades I would probably have just sold here. But obviously, I see a longer-term potential with it through the year as a bigger swing trade. And that's kind of always been my OTC strategy is, yeah, you have, you know, your good trades, but then you can also hit a couple home runs every year, and you got to have the eye for them. And this is one of those that I think could be a home run. So we'll see.
Yeah, and you know what I like too about their website is that it doesn't look like shit. Their website actually looks like nice.
Yeah, it's a nice site. Someone competent made it. Sometimes you're
breaking up. Oh no!
But I'll add, you know, obviously. Can you hear me now?
I got you back now. Yeah.
Okay, cool. The last thing I'll add, you know, obviously is it's still going to be dependent on what management can deliver, and that's what it boils down to with all these plays. You know, you can look for these home runs, and you might have the perfect technical setup and the perfect story, but obviously, company still has to deliver good results. So that's kind of the next steps here, and we're looking forward to that.
Hey, have you been following? I just figured I'd ask a DFTC and that surge.
Yeah, so DFTC, I'll talk about it more this week, but it's obviously. Let me get the chart up for that so people.
That one's looking great. They had
it's
some
really
kind of
come to life recently.
It says their PR.
Huge week. Yeah. So here's the chart. 14th. You can see it's really come to life recently. It's still very low volume, right? Like just like a couple million shares at most trading. So it's really moving on air. It's a totally clean ticker. It has 0 convertible notes, 0 share issuances. So there's really nowhere where like big selling could come from out of here. So, you know, this is a company that was quiet for a really long time, and the chart reflects that, right? You can see it was really dead out there for a while. And they've only just recently come back to life with a PR talking about some of their initiatives in AI and a new partnership that they have. So, you know, this is a ticker where the CEO's treated it really respectfully for a really long time, right? He's never diluted or anything. So the fact that they're getting active again tells me, okay, we should probably have our eyes on this, as well as the stock reacting really positively to that news. So this is the type of thing where if we zoom out, it gets interesting because we'll go to the 5-year here. This is its previous high, right, is 841, and it's right around where it capped out. You can see it broke that high a little bit so far. But basically what I'm saying is, okay, above this 0.85 level is totally blue skies. Like it's never traded above that, right? So it could get really crazy over 0.85. So these low floats, you know, they can sustain runs pretty well, especially when there's, you know, when they're super clean like this and there's really no preload volume or anything, right? So this could very easily be the beginning of a bigger run and not just like, you know, a one-time spike because, like I said, you break that 0.85 and it gets really, really interesting. We saw with LRGR, like I think there was a very similar share structure to this. And we saw that go from, people thought the run was over when it was hitting this price. And then, you look at it a few months later and it's hitting 75 cents. So I think with these low floats that are well controlled, that are not toxic, right? No dilution, nothing like that. They can make crazy, crazy moves. So definitely have my eyes on this one as well.
I will say for that one specifically, I'm looking at their balance sheet, like confirmed, no convertibles. There's not lists and lists and lists of restricted shares. That's nice to see. Their total income, let's see, 120,000. If this was 2025, their net operating income was 79,000. So they have cash. But no, their net income total, because they had other expenses, so they're at negative 184. But that's like nothing. So they're
pretty standard for an OTC,
even,
especially in the early stages, right? Like this is a company that seems like it's in the early stages, and I think that they're kind of sending the flare out with their most recent PR that, hey, we're actually going to get things moving now. So that's what's interesting about it. And of course, AI being a really hot sector, we're seeing NASDAQ tickers announce pivots to AI and just explode. So I don't know if you saw the Allbirds stock last week, but that was a shoe company that was just like, hey, we're AI now. And it went up like 1,000%. So, very hot topic in the market right now. And obviously this one's starting to gain investor interest. But again, what's neat is like the only guy that owns shares here is the CEO pretty much. Like look at the filings, right?
Well, that's what you want to see.
Yeah, like the only person that owns shares here is the CEO. And that's awesome because that means there's like no overhead, right? Trading wise, like where's the sellers going to come from? I mean, aside from market makers maybe shorting on low volume, there's not really going to be any serious selling to be concerned about.
And they have cash. Actually, I stand corrected because this is the first time looking at the filings, but cash at end of the period is 186,000. So yeah, they're looking all right. They had some investment activities go on. So yeah, they're just like you said. It's at the beginning. They're just getting started. It seems so.
Yeah, it still hasn't even traded really significant volume at all. So if this gets a big volume day, it could really shock people.
Oh yeah, I like this one more and more. I look at this. This is pretty nice. Awesome. Anything else? How you doing? Good. Are your Phillies losing the Braves today? I will ask.
I haven't checked yet. I'm assuming yes. The Phillies are garbage. I knew they would be garbage. Because like 2 weeks ago, I'm listening to WIP, which is like if you want to lose brain cells, you gotta listen to WIP. It's the Philly sports radio. And some guy called in. He's like, "Why are you talking about the Eagles? If you're in Philadelphia, you gotta be excited about the Phillies right now." I'm like, "Come on, man. The Eagles are like clearly the way more exciting team, but whatever."
Oh, totally, totally. And hey, you never know. The Sabres might play the Flyers there too. So
my dad and I call them the country club, this Phillies team, because it's like the entire team is like 32-year-old white dudes. I mean, let's get some, let's get some variety, some spice of life on this team. We need like a 22-year-old from an island you've never heard of, and then you'll really see us doing well.
Yeah, unless that happens, and then they become injured like Ronald Acuna. Like he spent the whole year last year not playing, and the Braves sucked last year, but. What can you do? But
or just I guess the other option is go all in on Asia. It's working for the Dodgers.
Oh yeah. Well, dude, thanks for coming on and sharing some of this information. This is good stuff, man. Really, really good stuff. You want to hang out while I talk a little BMXI?
Yeah, go for it. Sure thing.
All right, let's do some BMXI.
Get the chart.
I like this one. Yeah, I'll skip it. I only have the 50 and 200 here, but if you want to pull up your chart, I'm going to do a little due diligence here. So let's talk about this one. Let's start with the numbers, guys, because according to their March 24th PR, the company generated about 19.75 million in revenue, all from gold production. They reported roughly 13.4 million in gross profit, which comes out to about 68% margins and about 9.5 million in net income. All right, that's not a concept, guys. That's actually what the company's producing right now. When what makes this even a little more interesting is in that same release, they noted the production actually decreased during that year, but the revenue still went up. And the reason for that, guys, as we all were following, was the higher gold prices. So right away, you're seeing leverage in the model. So if gold stays strong and the company increases production, that combination could really start to scale in a meaningful way. And so they're also, expanding their operations. So they planned, or their outline plans to increase from 12 operating tunnels to target 30, along with the expansion from 2 shafts to 3. On top of that, they're building their own processing plant, which is expected to reduce production costs by up to 30%. So that's a major shift because it means more control over operations, lower costs, and potentially stronger margins moving forward. Now, shifting to what might be the biggest part of the story here. Sorry, guys. Dying here. It goes from 70 degrees to 30. I can't stand it. Can't stand it. But we're talking about NAG, the North America Gold Spinout in December. On December 3rd, 2025, the press release stated the company detailed a plan to transfer its North American assets into a new entity called North American Gold, or NAG. Then, in the January 14th PR, right here, they confirmed that this transfer process has been completed. The key detail in that was that shareholders of BMXI are expected to receive a 35% interest in that new entity through a shared distribution. So now you're not just holding exposure for one company, you could be getting a stake in a second one as well. So that's absolutely significant. So, and also in that December press release that I just mentioned, there's a clear push towards high level of credibility and visibility. It mentions updated NI 43-101 reports, ongoing audits, and plans to pursue a listing on the New York Stock Exchange American. And by the way, NI 43-101, I had to look it up. So for those of you that are like, what the hell is this when we're talking about these mining plays? It's a report that is standardized technical reports detailing scientific information for mineral projects required by Canadian securities regulators to ensure public disclosures are accurate and not misleading. So just a couple more things here, and then I'm going to jump over to let Robot do the chart breakdown. But let's look at the March 9th press release. The company announced that it had a new addition, Romy Hersham, who's a capital markets professional, to the board of North America Gold. So this is someone with experience in scaling mining companies, raising capital, and positioning assets for growth. And that kind of move, bringing somebody in like that, suggests preparation for a larger scale. So yes, I had to do a little chat GPT here. Why not? You know, the little cute little mining diagram. When you step back and look at everything here, guys, you got a company that they're generating real revenue from gold. They're operating with strong margins, 68%, actively expanding production, and working through a spin out that could unlock additional shareholder value. And on top of that, there's a potential path to a higher exchange. So that's huge. That's something that could bring increased attention as well. So I think this is a completely undervalued play. It's at the bottom. And I had to throw this in there. Wait, where is it? Where the hell is it? This never gets old. The geology beard.
There he is.
There he is. The geology beard. So I don't know. I really like that one. Those were all my notes on it, guys. I had to share with you because, well, show the chart. I mean, this thing's total opportunity right here, in my opinion. Let me get rid of this thing.
Yeah, you mentioned it being at bottom. Really, we have, pretty much a quadruple bottom here. If you look at my line I drew around 2 cents, this is a stock that comes in waves, as you can see by the chart, but when it spikes, right? And so the last time it's hit this 2 cent level, it's produced, a minimum 100%, sometimes 200%, sometimes 300% runs from these levels multiple times. And of course, as the company's only getting closer, right, to this NAG spinoff, the NAG spinoff to NASDAQ, it becomes really appealing here. Obviously you mentioned the financials. It does have great revenue. It's even profitable, right? They're already selling a lot of gold. So this is not, a speculative miner, really. It's one that's producing significant revenue already. And then it talks about, that they wanted to put up to $100 million of assets into this NAG IPO. So, BMXI shareholders collectively are going to own 35% of that IPO, which just, you got to go do the math. But the share price should be much, 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 much higher, right? Factoring that in, like exponentially higher. So it's an arbitrage opportunity in that sense. And obviously that's a really significant catalyst coming up for this ticker is the NAG IPO. They issued an update on it recently. I believe they're targeting the first half of this year. So that really only leaves a few months. So the clock seems to be ticking, right? If you want to get in cheap before that IPO happens, because again, that can be a really significant catalyst for the stock. And then, of course, with the strong financials as well, it's just it's a pretty good bet buying cheap and selling high, right? Buying low, selling high, right? That's what we do. And this is a chart that shows you can do it, and the technicals, or I'm sorry, the underlying fundamentals of the company back it up, right? That it could be a good value down here. So look forward to more updates on the NAG IPO, because that's the big home run thing for this stock, but it also has a lot of great things going on in the meantime.
Yeah, I love it in these levels. I mean, like, to me, like, I haven't made a move into this one yet. I plan on doing it in the next week or two, seeing if I could swoop up some 2s and 3s. But this one looks great. I like these types of plays, sort of like the CVAT, how they're going to have the buyout, and there's where it's based on valuation. Like this is going to be this could be a home run. And the guys, I know Due Diligence Virtuoso. If you're not following him, DDV on X. Follow it, because he puts out a ton of due diligence on this one. This is one of his favorite plays. And
if you search the ticker on X, you should see some of his posts. He has a lot of really great due diligence out there that help explain the arbitrage opportunity, especially with the IPO coming up.
Speak of the devil. Arbitrage is the right word for BMXI. So I like this one a lot. So yeah, keep an eye on this. Keep this one on your radar. I think we covered a lot of really strong tickers today. Definitely keep your eyes on all these: CVAT, SFWJ, AURI, VXIT, DFTC. My gosh, and BMXI. And every show, there's at least one every show. Soon, we say soon. I say soon. Soon. Hang in there. As soon as there's updates on ILS, I'll make sure I definitely go live and do an update. But Super Robot, man, thank you for joining. It's been great. I hope you had a good weekend, my friend. And we got to hop on and do a Spaces call maybe this week or next week would be great.
Definitely. Looking forward to it. Thanks for having me.
All right, man. Get out of here.
All right. Take care, guys.
Always a pleasure hosting Super Robot. I want to give a shout out to everybody in the community, guys. Thanks for watching the show. Leave a comment. If you're watching this replay, let us know what you think about these tickers. Leave some stocks that you would like us to cover, and we'll take a look at them and give them a shout, and take a look. Always looking for some good plays. But yeah, there is tons of opportunity here. So you know what? While some people may have their tail between their legs, with some of their investments from many years ago, you know what? There are golden opportunities here, guys. And, you just got to keep on keeping on and try to make your best trade and do your best due diligence. And I'm not going to stop. I'm going to keep going. And you know what? If you haven't followed Super Robot, make sure you do. That guy puts out amazing due diligence videos. And so that's it. He was one of the people that broke open IGBK. We were all on that one back in the day. That was fun. See, that was fun times, right? But yeah, keep your eyes on all these stocks. That's it. That's it for this Sunday live. We may go live again next Sunday. I'll keep you posted. Special thanks to my guest, Neil Volishin, Gabe Diaz, and Super Robot. You guys have a wonderful evening. And remember, there is more that binds us than breaks us. Peace out, guys.